All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are breaking down a really dramatic theory that's been making the rounds. This idea of a technological apocalypse that's sending shockwaves through the financial markets. And according to our source material, this isn't some far off prediction. It's happening right now.
The whole story kicks off with this absolutely staggering number. We're talking about over $1 trillion that has, according to the source, just vanished from the American markets. That is a 1 with 12 zeros after it. It's a number so big, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. And just to give you a sense of scale here, the source claims that with that kind of money, you could literally found several new countries, from the ground up. So we're not talking about a small dip in the market here. This is being framed as a massive, world-changing financial event. And hey, before we go any further, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell, and share and like the video. Remember, this is an explainer of the source material. It's not investment advice. Thanks. So what in the world is supposedly behind this trillion-dollar meltdown? Well, the source points the finger directly at one place, the tech sector. It describes this massive tech bubble that, in the speaker's own words, was always going to burst. Now, what's fascinating here is just how specific the source gets. It claims a cold wind started with a company called Palantir and then just spread. It points to Tesla dropping a whopping 14% before the market even opened for the day, and it describes huge players like the chipmaker Nvidia and even Bitcoin as being in a deep depression. And to really drive home how serious this is, the speaker doesn't just call it a downturn. Now, they make a direct comparison to one of the worst economic disasters in modern history, the American Great Depression. I mean, that is a powerful and frankly, a pretty alarming thing to say. To try and explain the mechanics of what they see happening, the source uses a very, very charged term, a Ponzi scheme. Just so we're all on the same page, a Ponzi scheme is basically a scam, where money from new investors is used to pay off the early ones, instead of using actual profits. And here's where it gets really controversial. The source takes that exact concept and applies it to the entire tech market, calling the whole thing a big gamble. And in that kind of game, they argue it's always the public, the regular people, who end up losing in the end. Okay, so this sets up the central argument of the whole theory, and it's all about contrast. The source presents this picture of a market that's just split right down the middle, a tale of two completely different stories happening at the exact same time. So on one side, you have the tech stocks, which are described as being in an absolute freefall, a waterfall of losses. But on the other side, you've got precious metals, gold and silver, which are painted as standing firm, acting like a safe haven, while everything else is in chaos. This chart really visualizes that divide, doesn't it? While major tech indexes are supposedly down 5% or even more, the source points out that gold is only down 0.7% and silver is down just 1%. The argument is that in a real crisis, that difference, well, that's everything. Now, it is absolutely crucial that we include this direct quote. The speaker makes it crystal clear that this whole analysis is just their personal viewpoint, a conversation with myself, he says, and it should not be taken as financial advice. We're just explaining the theory here, not telling you what to do. Okay, with that important disclaimer out of the way, let's look at the other half of this theory, the so-called solution to this tech apocalypse. The focus here shifts completely to what the speaker calls real money. So what's the message for people holding gold and silver? It's a message of total calm. The source tells them to be absolutely, completely at ease, basically saying that while the digital world might be on fire, the physical world of real assets is perfectly safe. So why all the confidence? Well, the argument really boils down to a few key things. Gold and silver are presented as tangible, physical assets, real money that you can actually hold in your hand. They are totally outside the tech bubble, and they're seen as that classic hedge when things get chaotic. The source also points out that big players like China are apparently stocking up on physical gold. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most dramatic part of this whole thing, the predictions. The source doesn't just talk about what's happening now, it lays out a very, very specific forecast for what's coming next. The prediction starts with silver. The speaker is expecting a rocket movement in the price of silver, and that surge is supposed to act like a catalyst, pulling the price of gold right up along with it in this really powerful wave. So just how high could gold go? Well, the near-term price target that's given is $4,500 for a single ounce. That's a pretty massive jump from where things are today.
So let's just look at the whole timeline here. The theory says we're starting with today's market chaos. That chaos is expected to trigger the silver rocket in the very near future. And then, looking a little further out, the prediction is that gold will smash through the $5,000 mark by the year 2026. When you boil it all down, the central message of the source material is really a powerful statement about value in our modern world. It's arguing that in a world full of volatile digital markets, it's the tangible, physical things that represent the ultimate form of security and stability.
And that really just leaves us with one provocative final thought. By putting the shaky digital world against the solid physical one, this theory really makes you ask the question, when all the digital systems we rely on start to crack, where do we actually find real, lasting value? Thanks for watching.